Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. Welcome to TimeToPlay.com's Empower Half Hour, where each week professionals and experts provide discussion and tips to help us have a better life. The Time to Play philosophy is you have to be happy, healthy, have money, and a work-life balance to have quality of life. TimeToPlay.com is a people helping people project, and I have been honored to find wonderful professionals to help me in my mission to help people enjoy life. Check out all the information and articles posted on TimeToPlay.com. Also, give me a call or email if you know someone amazing that should be a professional resource on Time to Play, or if you would like to be featured in a future podcast. All the contact information is on the TimeToPlay.com site. So today we are proud to have Jean Brutman, a professional resource on TimeToPlay.com. You can read her articles. You just go and click on Financial Professionals, and you will see her and her photo. Jean is a financial planner and has 4 designations in her field. She's a Life Underwriter Training Council Fellow, a certified
Don't do this to people.
Tell them what you are. I'm sorry.
I read way too much. I take too many exams. You can go on my website. Let's not waste the time.
A million little certifications. You're important. I
study a lot. Let's make this about them, not about me.
All right. I do have to mention the totally excellent video on the homepage on AskJeanBrutman.com, and I do have to note that you do make amazing chocolate chip cookies. So, all right, enough said.
Don't forget my teleseminar tonight.
And your what?
My teleseminar tonight at 8 o'clock. You can register on my website, and today it's about credit and debt management.
Okay.
Credit scores and debt management.
Afterwards, but that's okay. Well, today's topic brings fear to most people in today's environment of uncertainty, but we're going to say it, the FP word, financial planning. And today we're going to speak about financial tips and transitional period into 2012, and something that I was kind of a little more dry, and Gina and I were talking, and she wants to go on something really kind of a unique angle here, the things that nobody talks about. So, because I asked her for boring stuff, like let's review 2011 and what we need to do and go into 2012. And she's like, no, I want to talk about the stuff nobody talks about. So let's do that. What's your first thing that you want to tell some people?
Well, I think we've all heard the standard stuff, fill up your 401k, make an extra mortgage payment, do your charitable contributions. We've all heard that stuff. So I think I'd rather tell you about the stuff that people aren't telling you about. So one of the things you may not know is, 67% of us or 60% of us end up in divorce. I don't know if you knew this, but your life insurance premiums may be tax deductible. So if you were divorced in 2011 or before 2011, and in your divorce agreement it stipulates that you have to maintain life insurance for your ex-spouse and children, you can actually take a tax deduction for that life insurance that's stipulated in your divorce agreement. That's right. So if you're paying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year for life insurance, and it's part of your divorce agreement, it's stipulated in the agreement, it's actually tax deductible. And should you die, your ex-wife and children will actually receive that money without an income tax. It's one of the 3 exceptions in the U.S. tax code where you can actually get a tax deduction for life insurance and not be charged income taxes when you receive the death benefit. And nobody's talking about this. So every time you get a divorce, the opposing counsel says you have to get life insurance for your ex-spouse, and you all go out and you buy some life insurance, and you could be getting a tax deduction for those premiums. So if you're spending, $3,000 a year, it's probably $1,000, $800 back in your pocket. How bad is that?
No, that's pretty good. And I have to say, unfortunately, we did do a podcast with Dr. Gelber, and he concurs with your statistic. It's very high, and unfortunately, I guess that's a good thing for you to be able to take the deduction. A bad thing about the divorce statistic. Questions about the long-term care we were talking about.
Wow. Well, long-term care is a huge upcoming crisis. If you think about it, there's, 60 million people retired, and there's 78 million baby boomers joining. And long-term care, let's define it so that we understand what we're talking about. It is the money that you use to pay for chronic illnesses that are not progressing towards better health. So medical illnesses progress towards something better and require doctors and nurses. Chronic illnesses that aren't progressing, that are stable in nature, are called long-term care and considered custodial. Those expenses aren't covered by medical insurance and Medicaid or Medicare. So that has to be self-funded. And there are insurance policies that do provide for that. But the market's closing. When I started in the industry 11 years ago, there was like 13 companies in New York. Now there's like 5 or 6 and more going out all the time. So if you have been procrastinating, now's the time to sit down with someone and really talk about this. This year alone, 2 companies dropped out of the market. They're dropping out of the market because it's not profitable for them. When insurance companies are dropping out of a market, run and buy that product. They're only going to sell things that are profitable, folks. Think about it.
Well,
they're a for-profit company.
Absolutely. I actually just did a calculation yesterday. As far as for New York State, the average nursing home bed is $311 a day. And that
by the way, that's the average facility, which is one that you walk in and the smell hits you in the face. That's not the place you really want to go.
Right. Well, it's basically for skilled nursing. We're not talking assisted living. That's a little different, and those are a little bit sometimes. However, it's $111,000 a year. So just for a throwing out number, I mean, there's definitely different bed rates in all different facilities. Those are
but you know what? Let's not talk about nursing homes, because the reality is people don't want to be in a nursing home. People want to stay in their home and they want to stay in their community, and that costs $20-something an hour. So we can talk about nursing homes all you want, but the only people who go to nursing homes are people who do not buy care and have given up all their assets and are in government facilities. People who purchase long-term care contracts only spend the last 2 or 3 months in a nursing home, and that's usually because it's hospice or because bluntly, they're mentally incapable and they don't even know where they are. People with long-term care contracts typically spend their time at home, 6 years on average.
Wow, that's a long time. Well, that's
the average insurance company claim is 6.5 years. So 6.5 years times 110,000 is how much? That's almost 700,000. And the average long-term care premium that people are paying today is something like $4,000 or $5,000. So people are paying
for. Want to do it.
That's right. Now, to be fair, the new contracts are between $7,000 and $20,000. And yes, you can get cheaper. I'm just giving a range, but you're still not paying $110,000.
Right.
So this is why the market's closing.
And those premiums are tax deductible.
Those premiums, no, not entirely. So I'm only going to talk about New York here because New York is really important.
Okay.
So in New York, we have a 20% tax credit. So if I spend $10,000 on a long-term care premium for myself or my parents or my brother or my dog, it doesn't actually matter which one. I can take a full 20% New York State tax credit. So, for example, I have clients whose children are paying for their contracts because they don't want to lose their inheritances or they don't want to lose the home, or they're taking the tax credit for their parents. There's also a federal tax deduction, and that's age dependent. Now, a credit is always better than a deduction. A credit is a dollar-for-dollar reduction of your taxes due, where a deduction is really dependent on whatever your tax bracket is. If I'm in the 33% tax bracket, I'm really only paying 26 or 27% of my income to taxes, okay? So if I'm spending that same, $10,000 a year, a tax deduction would only net me, maybe $2,000 or $2,500 as compared to much more that I get with a full tax credit, which would be the 20% of the full $10,000. So you have to think of that. But the federal government is only offering a federal tax deduction based on age. So the older you are, the larger the tax deduction. But it's still, again, it's another deduction that you can claim that most CPAs don't know about. And by the way, if your CPA isn't asking you that question or doesn't know this, you should probably change your accountant or CPA. Heads up.
Good point. Okay, so now we have just something that you had mentioned in your bulleted list, which I think maybe I'll post on your page if that would be okay. But you have a make an extra mortgage payment for 2011, and then in 2012 you talk about breaking your payments into 2 monthly payments instead of the
I'd love to handle that. Let's talk about that. So people who are in the mortgage business, they're all about interest. So if I spend $100,000 on a home and I have a 30-year mortgage, I'm really going to pay $260,000 for that home if I have a 30-year fixed rate, let's say around 5.5%, 6%. I'm doing fast math. So the game on a mortgage for you the person who's getting the mortgage and the debtor is to end that mortgage as soon as possible. Now, I hear all of you saying, oh, no, I don't want to get rid of my mortgage. I've got a tax deduction for that interest. All right, let's think about this. You're going to pay for 30 years to save 30 cents on the dollar, or you could pay it off quicker and keep 70 cents on the dollar. So avoid people who tell you that. They're kind of annoying. Just kind of a heads up. And for all of you who are refinancing, just another warning, if you have a 30-year mortgage and you refinance because rates are cheaper for another 30-year mortgage, you think you're getting off good. You're not. You're churning. You're being churned because you're getting another 30-year mortgage and more interest is being paid to the bank again. So if you have your mortgage has been around for 5 years, and you're going to refinance, get another 30-year mortgage, you're in debt for another 30 years and still paying the bank lots and lots of interest. Stop the refinance game. The only way you win on that is if you get a shorter mortgage. So you go from a 30-year to a 20-year or a 15-year, then that makes sense. If you're doing a 30 to a 30 to a 30, you're being churned. The broker's earning commissions, the bank's earning the interest. Nobody cares. That's why they're willing to do it. So let's talk about the extra payment. If I have a 30-year mortgage and I do an extra payment every single year, I can cut up to a year and a half to 2.5 years off my mortgage. So that means I'll own my home up to 2.5 years faster. Okay, number one. Number two, that second tip, if you take that $3,000 a month you're paying for your mortgage and you pay, and there's some programs to do, they call it mortgage acceleration programs. And by the way, people avoid this because it's an extra fee. But let's say I go into a mortgage acceleration program and I pay $1,500 on the first of the month and $1,500 on the 15th of the month. I'll cut up close to 6 or 7 years off my mortgage if I combine that with the extra payment. That's what I'm talking about. On a 15-year, I'll cut off 2.5 years. Right, you're just breaking the compounding cycle. That's all you're trying to do, guys. And please don't listen to anyone who says, oh, but I lose my tax deduction. I'd rather have the money in my pocket. I'd rather own a real asset sooner.
Wow,
so that's
very
that one. Another thing I want to talk about that nobody's doing and must be talked about, for all of you out there that earn over $100,000 and you have either IRAs, individual retirement accounts, or old retirement money, old 401ks with old employers, you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity until, actually you have about 2 weeks, not even until December 31st, to take that money that you've never, ever, 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 ever paid taxes on because they were pre-tax contributions for retirement plans. Pay taxes today. Please don't tell me I'm crazy yet. Just listen. And never, ever, 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 ever pay taxes again. The U.S. government in 2010 and 2011 said, we need money. What can we do to get money right now? We need more tax money. What can we do? What can we do? They go, I know. We'll let people that we've never let have Roth IRAs before have them, but they have to convert them now and they have to pay us now because we want tax money and we want it now. So all of us who are wealthy, earning over $100,000 a year in the New York area, or wealthy in general because we earn over $100,000 a year, have never had access to this remarkable tax advantage to cut out the U.S. government from our retirement plan in perpetuity. So you literally have 2 weeks to get the paperwork in. I'm not kidding. Because if you try and do this last week of December, it won't go through. And it takes a couple of weeks to get the forms from your former company that's still holding your 401k money. You really have to start this today.
What is this
So what's
called?
the advantage? This is called converting a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. What that means is I agree to take my never-before-taxed retirement money. I am going to pay taxes on it today at my tax rate today, which, by the way, is the lowest in 30 years. Okay? In 1960s, the marginal tax rate went as high as 90%. The highest marginal tax rate today is 38%. We are in a fire sale for taxes. So I'm going to agree to pay taxes today. And for that, the U.S. government says you can never, ever, ever pay taxes again on this money growing tax-deferred and tax-free until retirement. This is an amazing deal. Now, if you're close to retirement, maybe you shouldn't do it. You're going to have to talk to someone about that. But if you're going to work another 10 to 15 years and you have the opportunity to cut the U.S. government out of taking taxes out of your money, run. Now, a lot of people will say, why would I do that? Because in retirement, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket, so I'm not going to be in the same tax bracket that I'm in today. Well, that's a line of bunk. There are 60 million people retired. There's 78 million people joining them. None of them have money. Are they going to vote to raise taxes or lower taxes, especially if their entitlement programs are threatened? What do you think, Doreen?
Well, of course, they're going to raise taxes because that's what they do.
Okay.
So.
Great. So they're going to raise taxes. So do you think the marginal tax rate, the income tax rate, is going to go up or down?
I would guess it's going to go up. Absolutely.
Okay. So today's a fire sale on taxes. And if you earn over $100,000 a year, you're probably going to have some assets in retirement. You're not going to be the people waiting for your Social Security check. So you're always going to be paying a higher tax bracket than the majority of the population. Now is the time to really do that. And nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about this.
Very
So what would you like? So those are probably the best tips for 2011. Now for 2012, which ones do you like best, Doreen?
Oh, my goodness. There's just so much information.
Read me number 6. What was that one again?
If you have never done it, have a CPA review your tax returns to see if they can come up with better results than your accountant or local H&R Block, which actually was very interesting to me because you hear of people finding additional things all the time. How often does that actually happen?
100% of the time I take on a new client and they're using their dad's accountant or the local tax preparer. 100% of the time I have their taxes audited, and 100% of the time they're losing money.
Wow.
I have never, ever seen an exception.
What if you have a CPA do your taxes?
Get it audited anyway. I would still get it
Mm-hmm.
audited. I would make sure that you have a professional that actually knows what he's doing, that's a specialist in your field. I just wrote, a reporter was looking for a lead for 5 New Year's resolutions for small business owners. That would be us, right, Doreen?
Sure.
And on my list was audit your taxes. Get a forensic CPA and have them go, a tax specialist, not an audit specialist, a tax specialist. Have them go through your tax returns with a fine-tooth comb. I know you like your CPA. He's your trusted advisor. He's your best friend, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all. Get it audited. Make sure they actually know what you're doing. I would say 80% of the time I do this for business owners, they find significant errors. I have a client who has a $2 million business. We found $40,000 a year that goes back in his pocket every single year in perpetuity. That means for the last 20 years he's been overpaying, number one. Number two, we found another $200,000 tax deduction. Number three, we're looking at another $77,000 tax deduction, actually $100,000 that he may implement this year before year end.
Well, that's not the normal, Joe Schmo.
It's not the normal. Okay, let's talk about another one.
Okay.
I did an audit for a gentleman that has 18 supermarkets. Today he's not profitable. Great. But the day he's profitable, the way he's taking his deductions will actually cost him several $100,000.
Wow.
Because they weren't recognizing. Shall I go into another one? I told you 80% of my clients have errors. One of my clients, they're two individuals. They're two W-2 employees. The way they were paying taxes, they were getting back $11,000, $12,000 refunds, and they were excited. That means the government was borrowing money from them and earning interest on it for 12 months.
Oh, absolutely.
So I set up a savings plan for them instead so that money goes back in their pocket. By the way, they were living check to check. Why is that important? Because they were running up credit card debt while they were clearly giving the government a free loan. This is ridiculous. You want to use a real tax preparer, folks. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and how many times people are surprised. Yes, 20% of the time with business owners, there's nothing to find, but that means 8 out of 10 people found something remarkable. Remarkable enough to switch CPAs, by the way.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I do have to say. Now, these are not
and
the
by the way, if you need, let me stop. If you guys need more information on any of this, feel free to email me. I'm sure Doreen will give that information. It's certainly on the Time to Play website. You can find me, email me, and I will give you more information on this. Just like Doreen, I'm all about making this world a better place. Please go to Time to Play, look at the other resources, contact me if you need more info on anything I'm saying. But I'm sure we have time for at least one more, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wanted to
I like number 8. Because nobody talks
Well,
about that.
that was what I was going to, like what I was going to mention was that this is not the traditional stuff that you would think of a financial planner for. This is kind of...
No, I'm not, because I'm not just a planner, my dear.
Well, we know this. We know this. I was emphasizing, but you wouldn't let me tell people what you were after all. No, but this is just not what you would think. You usually would think you go to a financial planner, they're going to say, oh, you should do these investments, and this is completely...
Nah. I'm all about cash flow. I'm all about cash flow, increasing your cash flow so you can do more of the things that you want to be doing and not just working. I'm all about enjoying life now and later and helping people align their goals and values towards their spending. A lot of us are just spending because we're trained to be great consumers. You know what? That's great for the economy. It's not great for you and your long-term wealth. My job is to focus on the client, not on being a consumer. So the last one I want to touch on really touches on a different area. So I want to talk about legal agreements. So especially New York. So we're having a New York conversation here primarily. Mm-hmm. Remember we talked about New York with long-term care, et cetera. In New York, for those of us who actually went to the effort at some point in our lives to go to an attorney and do a will and a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy and a trust, in 2009 and 2010, New York made some significant changes to trusts, as well as power of attorneys and healthcare proxies. So let me explain what they are before you're like, what? A healthcare proxy is when you designate to someone else the power to make medical decisions for you in the event that you are unable to make those decisions. So, Doreen, you're now my healthcare agent, and I've got hit by a car. I was on the FDR last night, and I saw a car crash, and obviously that person is dead or near dead, okay? So right now they're in the hospital and they probably can't talk, and someone has to be able to make healthcare decisions for them. That form, that healthcare proxy form, lets someone walk up to that doctor, walk up to that medical staff and say, I know what she wants, and help make that happen. You should also combine that with something called a HIPAA form, because that will allow that same agent the right to get copies of your medical records from all the different providers, okay? So that's something new. Mm-hmm. Now, the second thing is power of attorney. A power of attorney says, same situation, I'm in the hospital, I can't speak, but I'm a business owner, let's say, or I didn't write a check, or I'm in the hospital for an extended period. I now can't access my bank accounts, I can't go online, I can't do anything. I'm out. Who has the right to write checks for me, make business decisions for me, make real estate decisions? Who can keep my life going while I'm recovering, hopefully? That person is called a power of attorney, and they are, in fact, you in person. If, Doreen, you're my power of attorney, you can walk into a bank today if I have it on the paper, and you can make decisions about my bank account. You can sell my house. You can do all those things. So while I'm recovering, you can keep my life going and make sure that I don't go into bankruptcy, or my house doesn't go into foreclosure, or my business doesn't get shut down because payroll wasn't written and all my employees go away. That was actually the second mistake. The second resolution I put down for that reporter, it was go and get a power of attorney for your business so that if something happens to you, your employees don't walk out on you because no one can write a payroll check.
I've seen this happen to some people in the past when they've wound up in the hospital and they can't. And this one gentleman, I know his house actually got foreclosed on during his illness. It's just a terrible situation. So that's something you
by the way,
need to deal with.
Tie it back to that long-term care discussion. You should not be buying long-term care or disability insurance without having these two documents, because if I'm in a coma and I need to file for my disability insurance or I need long-term care, who's going to file that for me? I'm not signing anything. You need someone who can fill out those forms legally.
Good point.
So whenever you're buying long-term care insurance, disability insurance, they're called morbidity products, illness products, as compared to mortality, which is like life insurance. You need those forms to do it quickly and make sure you get your money as fast as possible, because someone's got to run around and get your health records, someone's got to run around and talk to doctors, someone's got to run around and talk to the insurance company for you, someone's got to run around and file your claim form for you and sign in your name. Really, really important, okay?
Absolutely.
And for those of you who had a will done in the last 5 or 10 years, credit shelter trust should probably be changed. If you don't know what this is, I don't have enough time to explain it on today's call, as well as irrevocable life insurance trust also had some significant changes. So again, you need further information on this, please contact me and I can get you some great attorneys who can help you through this. And
Absolutely.
I think the last change I want to talk about, because we probably
Before we do, hang on. I just want to do my little housekeeping. I do want to mention your mantra because I like it, and if you have listened to this whole thing, you understand Jean's little mantra is align your business and personal financial decisions with your goals and values. She's right there telling you all these different things that need to do so you can do that. Let us do the reach Jean 212-244-6995. Her email is Jean, Jeanne, at jeanbrutman.com, which is Jeanne, Brutman, Brutman.com. Or askjeanbrutman.com is her website. But you can go on Time to Play, click on Financial. She's right there, and you can reach her through there, too. After the programs, the podcasts are available on demand. This is information that you should probably let other people know about. Just tell them to go on there and listen. If you go on Time to Play, there is a podcast page. You can find Jean's podcast link right there. This is our 6th week doing the podcast, and I'm really proud of the information we're putting together so people can have a better life. Next week, I do have Jim Ryan joining us. He is a motivational speaker, author, and happiness expert. He's a professional resource on Time to Play. His article, Have a Little Compassion, is available on his page. Just go on happiness, and you can find him. And we're going to talk about happiness and goals for 2012. And on the Time to Play site, go up there, post events, tell your friends it's free. Trying to put as much professionals and resources so we can enjoy life and have a better life. So, Jean, go ahead. Oh, and wait, I just wanted to touch on the takeaways. I took notes. Deduct life insurance for your spouse, your ex-spouse. Plan for long-term care, mortgage payments, use a mortgage acceleration program to break compounding cycle of interest.
You know what? Why don't we just post that on the site instead of reading it off so I can get to the last tip?
Oh, good. Go ahead, do your last tip. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, this is really important. When we buy a home or we get a job, we get disability and life insurance, and then we let it sit for decades, and we don't change it or update it or think twice about it. These products are what I call lifestyle protection. They make sure that no matter what happens to us and our families, that their lifestyle continues. They stay in their communities, you stay in your homes, etc. You want to make sure that at least once a year, I always do it around April Fools because I think that's funny. I look at everything in my world. I look at my taxes. I look at my Social Security statement. I look at my investment to make sure the allocation is correct. And I look at my life and my disability insurance. I really look at it and say, if I got very, very ill for a long time, is this enough money for my family? And can I get more? And I do the same for life insurance. If I die today, is this enough money for my family to exist for the next decade or so and not have to change their lifestyle? And sort of how to judge that on the life insurance side, every $1 million left in a bank account will spin off $30,000 a year tax-free. So if I earn $100,000, I'm clearing $60,000. I probably need $2 million in life insurance just to keep lifestyle going. That's not college education, paying off the home, nothing. Paying for weddings, for kids, or bar mitzvahs, or bat mitzvahs, none of that's in there. I'm talking about just keeping lifestyle going. So that's just a very quick way of measuring that. On the disability side, again, if I earn $100,000 a year, I have to know that whether I'm working part-time or totally disabled, at least $6,000 a month will come in to protect my family so I don't lose the home. So you just want it once a year. Take a look at that. I always say April Fools because everyone remembers April Fool's Day, right? Yeah, look over your Social Security statements, look over your taxes, look over your life insurance, look over your investments, look over your morbidity products, income replacement, look over your long-term care products. Also make sure to think about who else you're responsible for. Are you responsible for your parents if they get sick or ill? Are you responsible for any godchildren? Have you done your legal agreements? Have there been any changes? I would say one last step, I'm going to throw very quickly. Make a commitment once a year to meet every last one of your advisors. Meet your attorney, meet your CPA, meet your insurance professionals, meet your investment people, meet your HR department. Once a year, make a commitment at least once a year to sit down at least an hour or two with each of them. Do that because it's about you. Everything else you do is about others. Do something about you. And I think that closes us out. I don't know what time it is because I'm babbling.
Amazing advice. Well, we have like 40 seconds, and I just want to thank you immensely for your time today. Oh,
So I just want to tell you guys, I have a blog, and today I dedicated today's blog to Doreen, because Doreen is all about making the world a better place for this country that all we do is work. And studies and surveys have shown year after year that that's all we do as Americans. So Doreen is trying to change that dynamic and change that culture so that finally we can put ourselves first, not just be consumers, and actually enjoy what we're doing for a living.
Thanks,
Jean. I'm on that boat, so I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you, and thank you so much again for being with me today.
Thank you, everyone.